Bichir ignored the crowd and said, "I believe you have all seen this notice. These are laws that have been in place for a while. Even if the deputy consul has changed, the Baskerville family's laws are still strict as before and will continue to be upheld." However, the crowd did not seem to have any faith in Bichir's words. They muttered among themselves, questioning his ability to carry out laws at such a young age. Some even commented on the corruption of the higher-ups and thought that Bichir would soon fall victim to it. Chihuahua, who stood by Bichir's side, could no longer remain silent. He shouted at the crowd, demanding that they show respect to the new deputy consul. The crowd fell silent, but some still doubted Bichir's ability to uphold the laws, and they thought that Chihuahua might be a better choice for the position of deputy consul. Suddenly, Bichir's actions had the entire crowd in a state of shock. As he pulled up the stake, whole crowd fell silent, and all eyes were fixed on him. With immense power, Bichir then plunged the stake into the ground with such force that the earth around it seemed to shake. The crowd could hardly believe what they were seeing. They were amazed at the sheer strength that Bichir had displayed. But then, Bichir announced something that took everyone by surprise. He said that he would announce a special law, with his authority as a deputy consul known as the Bichir Special Law, which would award 100 million gold to anyone who could remove the stake from the ground. The entire crowd looked at Bichir and the stake in disbelief, trying to analyze what was happening. Suddenly, the crowd erupted into a loud chorus of disbelief, shouting, 100 million. As the crowd gathered around him, Deputy Consul Bichir van Baskerville announced his new laws. The first law, known as the Bichir Special Law, Paragraph 1, Article 1, stipulated that whoever pulled out an appointed stake, henceforth referred to as the stake, would be paid 100 million gold immediately by Bichir himself. The crowd was stunned by the announcement and exclaimed in shock. They couldn't believe that they could get such a huge amount of money just by pulling out a stake. One person in the crowd asked if it was really that easy, and everyone murmured about it in disbelief. Despite the excitement, nobody came forward to pull out the stake. Bichir saw that no one was willing to take the risk, so he asked if there was no one who wanted to get 100 million gold. When no one stepped forward, Bichir declared a new law. The Bichir Special Law, Paragraph 1, Article 2, stated that the person who pulled out this stake would be paid 1 billion gold immediately by Bichir himself. This time, the offer was too tempting to resist. Suddenly, Bichir heard someone laugh, and he saw a fat old man in the crowd with an angry voice. The man exclaimed that it was ridiculous and asked if Bichir was making fun of them. He questioned who would attempt it, and the crowd began to murmur in agreement. But someone in the crowd pointed out that 1 billion gold was not chump change, and the mood shifted slightly. General Secretary Chihuahua, who was on stage behind Bichir, wondered why they were getting embarrassed instead. But Bichir ignored all the comments and asked if there was no one willing to take the challenge. With no one stepping forward, Bichir surprised the crowd once again by declaring a new law. This time, the reward was even higher, 10 billion gold. The crowd was stunned by the offer, and Bichir confidently stated that the person who pulled out the stake would be rewarded with the sum. As Bichir repeated his offer, the crowd was in a state of shock and confusion. Some wondered if it was all just a joke, while others were tempted to try their luck. However, others warned them of the potential consequences, saying that just look at the sword on his waist and the potential danger of being perceived as greedy by the deputy consul. Despite Bichir's repeated offers, no one came forward to pull the stake. As he was about to speak again, he was interrupted by Chihuahua, who whispered to him that there was not enough money in the city to fulfill his offer. Suddenly, a small hand shot up from within the crowd. The hand belonged to a little girl who had a flower basket on her other hand. She timidly asked if she could try. The crowd was shocked that this little girl was trying to pull out the stake from the ground. An old man recognized her as Judy, the flower girl, and tried to stop her. But Judy explained that her mother was sick and she had to try something. Despite the old man's warnings, Judy approached the stake and stood in front of it. She looked at the man behind the stake with fear and hesitation. Judy thought to herself, hoping to calm her nerves. She wondered if she would receive any payment for this act of bravado. She had volunteered to pull out the stake, hoping to earn a few coins for her efforts. She was hoped that at least she would be able to sell the basket full of flowers she had brought with her to the event. Without a word, Bichir simply said, "Pull it out." His voice was devoid of emotion, and Judy couldn't tell if he was angry or bored. She took a deep breath, grabbed the stake with both hands and pulled with all her might. To her surprise, the stake came out of the ground easily, as if it had never been stuck there in the first place. The crowd gasped in shock and disbelief, staring at Judy in amazement. They couldn't believe that such a small and frail girl had managed to pull out the stake so effortlessly. Judy looked at Bichir, who had been watching her intently, with the stake in her hand. Judy wondered if she had done something wrong, as Bichir made a motion as if he was about to pull out his sword. Her heart sank as she closed her eyes in fear, tears threatening to spill down her cheeks. She thought of her mother and wondered who would take care of her after she was gone. But instead of the sword, a hand with a bag appeared in front of her.